It started as a local debate over building a mosque just steps away from Ground Zero. Today, it has now exploded into a nationwide firestorm. Sarah Palin weighs in on the controversy with a Twitter plea for peaceful Muslims worldwide.
And now this Iman Ralph comes around with his $5 million in questionable cash, and he's going to build a mosque a stone's throw away from this sacred ground? No way. Not as long as I live.
It's a spit in our face. Go build it uptown somewhere. Don't put it here. Of all places, don't put it here.
Well, how did a plan to build a house of worship become a national debate? Now Sarah Palin putting herself in the middle of a national firestorm. Her Twitter post on plans to build a mega mosque near Ground Zero and the debate that has been ignited. And former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin jumping in on the debate now over a new mosque just steps from Ground Zero here in New York City. Critics have attacked plans to build a mosque at the site of the terror attacks that killed thousands of Americans, calling it hallowed ground and saying it is just too sensitive a location. The former governor, Sarah Palin, clearly agreeing, saying in a Twitter post yesterday, quote, "Peace-seeking Muslims, please understand. Ground Zero Mosque is unnecessary provocation. It stabs hearts. Please reject it in the interest of healing." But an aide to New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg hitting back at Palin, telling the former governor to mind her own business. So exactly how did the fight over this mosque become a national debate? Joining me now, radio talk show hosts Ben Ferguson and Mark Levine. All right, gentlemen, so Sarah Palin weighing in on this because the tensions are running so high. We have been covering this on Fox and on all the news here in New York because you hear such impassioned arguments on both sides. And now, Ben, it's gone national. So where do we stand on it now? And did Sarah Palin have a right to inject herself in the debate?
Well, of course she has a right. I think every American has a right on this one, especially anyone in New York or anyone that was affected by 9/11 in any capacity around the country. The fact of the matter is I think this mosque has turned into, in a way, a example of we're going to do what we're going to do. And if I don't care what religion you are, any religious leader, including those in charge of this mosque, should be saying this is way too controversial. You're supposed to call pastors and people like this when you have problems, and they're supposed to comfort you, not make it worse and pour salt on the wound. And that's what this is about, and that's the reason why I think many Americans are outraged, because you just don't do this. It's too close to a horrible incident, and you don't do it unless they're obviously trying to incite people to be angry and passionate and bitter about it.
You know, Mark, Sarah Palin tweeted out to the, saying, "Peace-seeking Muslims, please understand this is an unnecessary provocation," and then a group, the group that's behind the mosque, came out and said, "We peace-seeking Muslims have a responsibility to lead this effort of rebuilding Lower Manhattan, and we want to focus on promoting integration and tolerance of difference and community cohesion." So their response is that they're living up to their responsibility.
I understand the tension on both sides. Look, when I first heard about this, I was inclined to be opposed to it. I do think that Ground Zero is hallowed ground. But first of all, it's not a mosque. It is a Muslim community center. That should be clear. Number two, it's not at Ground Zero, but a couple blocks away from Ground Zero. I think at Ground Zero, certainly the government has the right to say this is hallowed ground, and we should allow all religions or no religions to be there. But under the First Amendment of the Constitution, we have to respect the right of all religions to put their mosque or church or synagogue or community centers wherever they want. We can't say that a church can be there and a mosque can't be there. So I asked myself, would I be upset with a church there or a synagogue there? And I said, no, I wouldn't. I'll tell you this. Hold on, let me finish, Ben.
Let him finish, Ben, and then I'll get to you.
Let me just finish. It seems to me, and hold on, let me finish, Ben. I've looked at this imam, and he does seem very much inclined to build bridges. And while I would encourage him not to build it there,
that's a great start.
I think he has a legal right to do that. And actually, it may turn out to be a good thing if people then understand that there are peaceful Muslims in the world, and not all of them attacked us on September 11th.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
If this man really wants to be peaceful, if this man really wants to be loving, why would you start your career down there and this community center in such a way where so many people are going to not like like you. This is the worst PR move you could ever have for the Muslim community. If you really want people to like you and to understand that you are peaceful, then don't incite people to almost the point of riots and anger and tears and bitterness, and especially in the name of religion. This is the point where you're making it. It's just, I don't think the American people are buying it, and people of New York especially, because this is not the way you do it. If you want to love people, this is not how you do it, and he, of all people, should know this.
What about that, Mark? Why stir up, his point is, and the detractors, and Sarah Palin's point seems to be, why stir up the controversy when you see that it's causing such heartache to a city that's already had more than its fair share? Why bother? You know, the latest Quinnipiac poll showed that 51% of New Yorkers oppose this, just 31% favor.
Well, first of all, this isn't his first mosque. He had one in Tribeca. Apparently, this is for overflow of the community center. Look, I wish he wouldn't. Honestly, I probably would advise him not to, but he has a legal right to do it. And once we start saying that the Constitution doesn't apply and we can let Christians be somewhere that Muslims can't be there, I really worry about that slippery slope. That being said, I think this imam has a dramatic opportunity to turn opinions around. One thing I would hope that this place becomes is a shrine to the victims of September 11th. I'd like to see what he does there. I would hope that he would use it to open people's minds, to allow Christians and Jews to come in and see there are peaceful Muslims in the world. And if he makes it extremely respectful of the victims of September 11th, this could really be a turning point. I hope he does that.
Back to reality. Megan, you know this as much as I do. Everything is perception in court, whether it's a case or whether it's in public opinion. And the public opinion right now is this place will never, I don't care what he does, will ever be looked as a place of love and trying to be in the spirit of around 9/11 and what happened at Ground Zero. This
what if
place,
he has a memorial
I think
there,
he's
Ben?
making a statement. No, let me finish. It's not a memorial. That's the point you're missing.
But what if he has one there? What if he memorializes the victims? Would that be okay with you?
He's not.
Is there a Muslim memorial
in
the shrine to the victims of September 11th? I mean, I think they could make a deal.
You want to respect the victims? Talk to the victims that have already spoken out and said they don't want this. If you really want to listen to the victims, which I don't think you really want to do, and neither does he, then don't put words in their mouth. They've said no to this. They don't want it.
Some have said no. It's true. And I understand that. I understand
mass majority have said no.
We've got to obey the law, and I think that this could be actually a real moment of education. If the imam, and he seems to want to do this, wants to work together and have a truly nice memorial to the victims and makes clear that his Muslims are not those crazy people that killed on September 11th, this could be a real healing moment for New York.
The unfortunate thing is we watched the debate on camera here last week at Fox, and some of the folks who were standing up saying that they object to this mosque were standing there being called racists by people who felt differently. And, you know, some of these folks are family members, had family members die on the September 11th attack. So it's just such an emotionally charged issue. Go
I
ahead,
wouldn't
Mark.
call them racist. I understand the sentiment.
We learned
I really do.
I'm going to let Mark go, and then I'm going to let Ben go, and then I'm going to go. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. I wouldn't call them racist. I understand the sentiment. The people who murdered 3,000 Americans claim to do so in the name of Islam, and I get it. But we have to recognize the vast majority of Muslims in the United States are peaceful, did not support the September 11th attacks, and this is really a great opportunity for the Muslims to themselves to step up and show concern for the victims of September 11th.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
They should do exactly what the Tea Party has done when they denounce anyone that's on the fringe, and the Muslim community in this country should stand up and say, we don't support this, and this is obviously somebody with their own personal agenda, and we are totally against it. And I'm waiting for them to stand up and do that, because they should.
All right, well, it's a good debate. You know, there's interesting points on both sides. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Well, we were watching